Every single night, at precisely 11:43 p.m., Maya would unlock her phone. Her thumb would navigate through the apps, almost on autopilot, until it landed on the familiar green icon of her messaging app. And there it was. The same contact, the same name etched into her screen, a digital ghost in her contacts list, the same empty chat window, a vast, silent desert where conversations once bloomed. Her fingers would hover, trembling just slightly, over the digital keyboard. A whole world of unspoken words would swirl in her mind, a chaotic symphony of longing and regret. She'd type, "Did you get home safe?" The words would appear, stark white against the background. But then, a wave of hesitation would wash over her, and her thumb would find the backspace key, deleting each letter until the screen was blank again. She'd try again. "How was work today?" A simple, everyday question. The kind of thing they used to ask each other without a second thought. But now, it felt impossibly heavy, loaded with a history she couldn't bear. So, she'd erased it. Then, the raw, unfiltered truth would spill out onto the screen. "I still think about you." 3 seconds of vulnerability before the wall went back up. Erase. 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 She would lie back on her pillow, staring at the ceiling, and repeat the same mantra to herself. It doesn't matter. Sending the message won't change anything. It won't turn back time. It won't heal the ache in her chest. She told herself that silence was a form of acceptance, a necessary step in moving on. But that was a lie, she told her brain, not her heart. Because love doesn't just switch off. It doesn't disappear just because the person does. It lingers, a phantom limb, an echo in an empty room. The memories were still there, vibrant and alive, playing on a loop in the quiet theater of her mind. Then came one night, different from the others. A long, grueling day had bled into a sleepless, anxious night. The exhaustion was bone deep, a heavy blanket that smothered her defenses. The usual battle between her heart and her head was over before it even began. Tonight, there was no strength left to fight. She opened the chat. Las 11:43, página M. Her fingers, slow and deliberate this time, typed just 3 words. No preamble, no hesitation, just the simple, devastating truth. "I miss you." And before the familiar panic could set in and force her to retreat, she pressed send. The message shot across the digital void. A single, solitary gray tick appeared next to it. Delivered, but not read. She stared at it, her breath held tight in her chest. Seconds turned into minutes. The gray tick remained unchanged, a symbol of a message sent into the ether, with no one on the other end to receive it. Eventually, sleep, or something like it, claimed her. The next morning, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Not a message notification, but a call. The number was unfamiliar. A string of digits she didn't recognize. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach as she answered. "Hello." The voice on the other end was professional, calm, but laced with a gentle sorrow. They spoke of an accident. A slick road. It had happened weeks ago. Weeks. The words didn't make sense. They were a jumble of noise that her brain refused to process. The phone was still active, the voice explained. The number still worked. But the person behind it was gone. The world tilted on its axis. Maya sank onto the edge of her bed, her phone still pressed to her ear, though the call had ended. A tremor started in her hands and spread through her entire body. The single gray tick. It wasn't about being ignored. It was about an eternal, unbreakable silence. The message was delivered to a device, but the soul it was intended for was no longer there to read it. All those nights of hesitation, all those deleted messages, all the words she'd swallowed, they now felt like stones in her throat. That night was the longest of her life, but when the clock on her phone finally, inevitably, ticked over to 11:43 p.m., a strange impulse moved her. She opened the chat again. The screen glowed in the darkness, illuminating the single gray tick next to her last message. "I miss you." Her fingers found the keyboard. "I hope you're not tired, wherever you are." she typed slowly. I had a long day. Really long. I wish I could tell you about it. She paused, took a shaky breath, and pressed send. No blue ticks appeared. No reply came, of course not. But as she sent the message, something inside her shifted. A tight knot of grief and regret, a knot she'd been carrying for so long, seemed to soften just a little. It wasn't about getting a response anymore. It was about releasing the words that had been trapped inside her. From that night on, the ritual changed. Every evening at 11:43 p.m., Maya would send one message. She told him about her day, about the funny thing her coworker said, about the new coffee shop she tried. She told him about the songs on the radio that reminded her of him, about the quiet ache that still visited her in the evenings. She wasn't waiting for an answer. She wasn't trying to reopen old wounds or live in the past. This new ritual was for her. It was a way to process her grief, to keep his memory alive in a way that felt gentle and healing. It was a way to remind herself that love doesn't end with a final breath or a silent phone. It transforms. It continues in the stories we tell, in the memories we cherish, and in the love we continue to give, even when there's no one there to receive it. Sometimes, the most powerful conversations we ever have are the ones where only our own heart is listening. It's in that quiet space that we find a way to heal, to connect, and to understand that some bonds are never truly broken. Thank you for listening. If you feel a connection to this story, please consider subscribing for more. Take care.